Are you ready to hear from a marine biologist about the ocean's spookiest stories? Continue watching if you dare, because I will be drawing upon the ocean's scariest secrets to tell you all about the spiders, the zombies and the vampires of the sea. It's really cramped in there. First up, a classic creepy crawly, the sea spider. Now these guys have actually been around longer than land spiders, having evolved 500 million years ago. But for those of you who are not spider fans, then you are not going to like this fact, because in the ocean they can be small, like this video here, or as you go down in the deep sea, you can get them to be up to 3 feet in length. That's half the size of me. That is pretty creepy to think about. I'm gonna keep that short and sweet for those of you to not click off if you're not spider fans. But for those of you who are interested in these very weird creatures, I have an absolute ton of facts on them in my other video on sea spiders, which is linked below. So go check that out if you actually want to learn about these 3 foot, 500 million year old, not per thing, but evolved sea spiders. I've also included spider crabs because they've got the name spider in, but also because these guys get into the Halloween spirit. There are certain crabs that are referred to as decorator crabs, and that's because they like to dress up. Now, giant spider crabs are absolutely huge. They get to be 12 foot in length. I would love to see one of these because I just can't imagine a 12-foot crab. I can't actually imagine anything better. But this 12-foot crab needs a bit of help blending in. And yes, there are things in the sea that can eat a 12-foot crab. So they need to make sure that they are, doing their best not to get eaten, despite their large size. And what they do is they walk along, got to include my crab impression, and they find things on the sea floor, like sponges and seaweeds and just lots of little marine things that have fallen and or growing, and they pick them up and they place them on their shells, and that really helps them to kind of blend in with the sea floor. So they win prize for the best fancy dress in this video and in the sea, because I think that's really awesome that they, like to dress up and get a little into the Halloween spirit. Lots of the creatures I will be talking about today live in the deep sea, and you can check out my video all on the deep sea and showing you guys just how deep the ocean is. And again, another video I have linked below, because really there is so much to talk about that doesn't fit into this video that you really should learn about. However, one of the species, or one of the only species in this video that isn't a deep sea, is the wharffish, the Atlantic wharffish. The name suggests that it lives in the North Atlantic and likes to live below 30 metres, but this fish can actually be caught, so potentially for anyone who's particularly fishing or trawling, I suppose, would actually have a chance at seeing this fish. However, they're really rare now, or quite rare now compared to what they used to be, because like a lot of fish in our oceans, they have been overfished, and really their numbers we know are plummeting, but the IUCN Red List hasn't got enough information yet to decide exactly how threatened they are, but it's definitely showing that these guys are struggling under the amount of fishing that is occurring, and I think that is a pretty scary fact and is pretty awful. I know I shouldn't joke about it, but I just couldn't resist. Now the next creature you're really gonna want to sink your teeth into, and that is the ocean's scariest squid, the vampire squid. So what does this demon, bloodthirsty, sucking, scary vampire of the eternal night eat? Well, of course, it eats tiny floating particles in the water called marine snow, which it uses to catch with sticky string attached to its body. Of course, what did you think it ate? Yes, the vampire squid doesn't really live up to its name because it's quite unlike the classic vampire that we know. But the reason it has this name is because it has quite a cool defense mechanism. So things eat vampire squids in the sea, and to protect itself under its tentacles and arms, it can kind of do this and invert itself like an umbrella. And on the underside of this inverted umbrella are a load of scary looking hooks which look a bit like fangs, and therefore they are called vampire squids, but they're actually just used in defense and not in catching. It's marine snow, which is quite easy to do, and they do that with just long, but two sticky long tentacles that kind of collect everything, and then they eat on that, and that's enough for that squid to survive. What about its other defense mechanism? You know, black ink, it's dark and it's scary. Well, if you class ink as scary, I'm really pulling at straws here. Normal cephalopods and which are squids and octopuses and cuttlefish, use ink as a deterrent. They will shoot black ink out, which is supposed to kind of be sticky and kind of form a body that confuses the predator that's trying to come at it, while it kind of disappears off in the background, where this predator is like either what just happened or thinks that the ink is that creature that it was hunting. However, these vampire squid, live down in the mesopelagic zone where there isn't any light, so our black ink isn't going to do anything. And this is where our friends the vampire squid kind of start to see more like Edward Cullen and the Twilight vampire crew. Now, if the writer of Twilight could tell me that she based her vampires on this very fact, then maybe I could get on board with Twilight, but I doubt that. But basically what this vampire squid does is ink is clear, but it has bioluminescent properties in it, which basically means it kind of sparkles in the water. So it dazzles and glitters its predators into confusion and is able to escape by sparkling. So, ooh, scary squid. But a species that actually lives up to its name, and probably more so than, it's probably more vampiric than the vampire squid, is the fang-toothed fish. Now the fang-toothed fish is really awesome because it lives up to its fanged tooth reputation. It really does have some big fanged gnashes, but what is cool or really awesome about this is that the size of its teeth compared to its body is actually the largest teeth to body size ratio of any fish that we know of. So these guys really have long teeth. So long, in fact, that it's a threat to its own survival. It has had to adapt special pouches in its mouth so that when its mouth shuts, it doesn't actually pierce into its own brain. I think the creepiest thing about this video, for me, would be imagining a fang-toothed fish dentist. Ooh, dentists. But keep watching, guys, because it gets creepier. Now, where are these vampire squids going to sleep? In a coffin fish, of course. Not literally, it won't fit. Now, I did say it was going to get creepier, but bear with me because the coffin fish is actually one of the cutest fish in the ocean. It's very sweet, and I can't think of anything that relates the coffin fish to an actual coffin except for the fact that it doesn't move. Yeah, I know, I just made a joke about a coffin. I was struggling with this one, forgive me. In fact, they're the epitome of lazy in the sea because these guys can't even be bothered to breathe. They can hold their breath for up to 4 minutes, and these guys live down deeper in the sea where really you need to conserve energy, and part of the ways it does this is just can't be bothered to breathe. It will hold its breath for varying lengths up to 4 minutes, but really just takes a chilled life cycle, and you know, why breathe a lot when you can just breathe a little. It also doesn't like to swim. It has these little armed leg things that it adapts, and if it ever does move, which doesn't move very often, it will walk along the seafloor instead of swim. So again, really going for the lazy thing there. The other fish that does this, and it's not just this fish in our creepy ocean creatures that decide it doesn't want to swim and wants to walk, is the red-lipped batfish, which is one of the most good-looking fish in the ocean, because it just looks like it's got lipstick on. Now, this isn't a deep sea fish, so you might think that you might have a chance of seeing this fish compared to other species like the sea spiders, which are living 2,300 feet down on the seafloor. You know, you're not going to see a giant sea spider. You're just not. Unless, of course, you're very lucky to go on a deep sea mission. So these guys live about 3 to 30 meters down, maybe a bit further, but they are actually endemic to the Galapagos Islands. So if you are a very lucky human that gets to visit the absolutely astounding wildlife in the Galapagos, you might come across this red-lipped batfish, the most glamorous of all Halloween creatures. But if not, unfortunately, you guys are not going to find it. But it's worth including because it's a bat and it's Halloween, if you hadn't already got that link. Now, while the mention of sharks itself might be creepy because of the film Jaws, though I am an advocate of the fact that, you know, that has hyped up fear of sharks and we really don't have to be scared of them, but I'm including the ghost shark because of the ghost part, not the shark part, the ghost. Ooh, it's creepy. Ghost sharks are actually liars, they're not true sharks. They diverged off from sharks about 360 million years ago, which means that there are some features that classically that sharks have that these guys don't, and that is, one of them is their teeth. They don't actually have nice pointy gnashes like proper sharks. They have a hard plate on the bottom of their mouth, and they crush their prey up to the top, where they have another plate that is sharper and kind of crush and cut the creatures to death, which I think is a far creepier way to go than, you know, a nice clean bite of a normal shark. So I think these ghost sharks are pretty creepy. Now, if we're going by creepiness, this next shark, which is an actual shark, beats the ghost shark tenfold, in my opinion. Although goblins probably aren't the scariest thing if you think about them in relation to Halloween, what is scary about them is the goblin shark. I mean, this thing is terrifying. Not only does it have this really creepy looking giant nose, which is actually really useful for it because it lives in the deep sea, there is no light. It has a special organ in its nose called the ampulla of Lorenza, I think. And it basically detects electrical signals in the water, which means it can hunt prey in the dark. It also has this jaw that doesn't look like it shuts, and the teeth are all hanging out, and that's really creepy. But that's not the creepiest thing about this shark. The creepiest thing about the shark is that it is an ambushed predator, and that is all about the element of surprise. So you will be surprised to hear that as a way to quickly catch and grab this prey, this jaw can kind of dislocate and come out and grab its prey to the length of that nose. So how far that nose goes out, and this jaw can also come out and grab things that entire distance. And I know that it would be great if I could replace all of my drawings with deep sea footage. I would love to do that instead of drawing them, but potentially with this one, I'm quite glad that my painting of a goblin shark does not move. So you might just think I chucked a giant whale carcass in this painting because skeletons are scary, and if you know whale carcasses, when they've died and all the fat has kind of been eaten off them, they fall to the floor and basically end up in the deep sea. But no, it's not the skeleton carcass itself that I'm adding on. If you guys have watched enough videos, you'll realise I love marine inverts, the tiny, the wonderful and the weird, rather than the marine mammals, which I think are awesome, but you know, not quite as cool. So what I really care about is what's on this skeleton. This is the coolest and creepiest of all of the species, is actually zombie worms. So these worms grow up to about only about 7 centimetres, but there can be an absolute ton of them living on skeletons that are at the bottom of the sea, and they actually eat bone. So these guys can work their way through an entire whale skeleton so that eventually there will be nothing left. And how they do this is they excrete acid which dissolves the bone, and then they kind of absorb and slurp up all of the fat that is in these bones. And I think that is really creepy. Really creepy, and a very good name to for these species. They're not going after brains, they're going after bones, but still definitely very descriptive zombie worms. But it's a really cool example, and the reason I saved it to the end, of the fact that ecosystems kind of work out a way to not waste anything. These carcasses are going right down to the deep sea floors, and there are creatures there ready to eat literally everything. Has been 11 really creepy creatures for you for Halloween. I hope you guys have a wonderful time during your Halloween festivities, or have just enjoyed watching a video about creepy creatures. If you like this video, if you like watching me draw or talking about marine facts, then make sure you subscribe and like, and if you have any creepy Halloween comments, put them below, because that really helps just grow my channel and show YouTube that this girl that keeps badgering on about marine creatures, you know, just reminds them that I'm there, so that they can help share and creep out the rest of the internet too. I will be back next Wednesday with another video, so have a fantastic and spooky week until then. See you next time, guys. Bye.